Alright, Bravely Default HD Remaster tips and tricks. With this release, a lot of new people are getting access to one of the finest RPGs in history, but might be struggling to adjust. I already made a newcomer's guide for the Bravely series as a whole, but that video was more about the big picture stuff. This is going to be the 10 best pieces of advice I can offer on how to play Bravely better. Combat tips, team building, best grinding spots in the game, all of it. There's going to be very minor spoilers like locations, job names, and some minor boss mentions, but absolutely no story spoilers here. None. So strap in, like and subscribe, let's get to it. First tip is really simple. Experiment with new jobs. I know this one's a little basic, but just bear with me, I've got a flow laid out for these. One of Bravely's core tenets is the freedom to build your team your way. If you just play the game with only the same handful of jobs the entire time, you'll likely get bored. So it's always recommended to try out any jobs that sound interesting to you, not because they might be potentially better or are best in slot according to other people, but because you might get more enjoyment out of the game by using them. Play around, have fun. That's all I'm asking. And coming off of that is advice on when to stop playing with jobs. Eventually, when leveling a job, you're going to reach a point of no return, where the JP requirement for each level is going to start spiking through the roof. This will occur around job level 9, and this is where I suggest deciding on whether you want to keep going with a particular job or not. Granted, now with the HD Remaster, you can look ahead to see what a job offers, so you can decide from the get-go if you want to keep going. But if you're just playing around and you're not really feeling a job by around level 9, it might be time to try something else. Tip number 3 is for some very basic job combinations. If you find yourself struggling with team builds and aren't certain of what works together well, this one is for you. Though it will take a while to get all of the jobs to make this work, there are only 8 mandatory jobs that you have to earn in a playthrough. I encourage you to do your side quests to get more, but if you only end up doing the main objectives, you're still in luck, as each of the jobs from the prologue get a supplemental job later on in Chapter 4. I'm going to name the job pairings in a moment by name, so if you don't want to be spoiled of what jobs are to come, skip ahead to the next section. But just know that it's pretty clear what the combos are. But for those interested, the pairings are Monk and Dark Knight, White Mage and Spirit Master, Black Mage and Arcanist, and Knight with Templar. Monk Dark Knight has some amazing damage potential with 2 really good moves that both ignore all defenses. White Mage gets a lot of supportive and defensive augments with Spirit Master. Arcanist isn't the greatest job on Earth, but it'll amp up your Black Mage DPS decently enough. And lastly, Knight can already carry you through the whole game for tanking hits, but Templar just makes it even better at protecting your party. And for the last piece of advice about jobs, if there's any job I'm going to say that you need to level up, it's Freelancer. Not for JP up, don't get duped by that, it is good, but that's a lot of investment. No, what I want you to do is, at the very least, get to Freelancer level 4 on one character. Examine is a useful tool for assessing enemy stats, and Treat is a decent enough heal for the early game. But the real good stuff comes from levels 3 and 4, the passive abilities Divining Rod and Dungeon Master. Both of these are going to be important for your entire playthrough. Divining Rod adds a little blip next to your minimap that tells you how many chests are left to be opened on the current floor of the dungeon you're on. Now, to most new players, you might think this is pointless. Just count the chests yourself, dumbass. And that's where the back rooms come in. Some dungeons have at least one hidden chest within the Endless Void, which are accessed by pressing your face against the wall until you fall through. Then you just follow the path to the end, and the chests will be there. Divining Rod will help you find these chests, because they tend to carry some quite useful gear. Also, don't worry too much about blue chests, they can't be opened until Chapter 6. Dungeon Master is more situational, but is going to alleviate a lot of navigation pains. Certain dungeons have environmental hazards, like the sand traps that blind you in Anchime, or the poison puddles in Miasma Woods. Dungeon Master ignores all of them, so you can just sprint through those puzzles with ease, not needing to worry at all about status effects. A big time saver indeed. So, Freelancer level 4. Get it? Now then, how are you going to grind all these levels out efficiently? This is the part that most of you are probably looking for, so I'll just get to it. Until you get to Chapter 2, the best way to level up is going to be getting First Turn Victor and Unscathed bonuses, which are earned respectively from killing all enemies on your first turn and not taking any damage during a fight. First Turn Victor gives you more EXP, and not taking damage gives more JP. It's the best I've got for your current state. Now, for Chapter 2, you almost immediately get access to the best farming spot in the game. You're going to have to do some talking in Florum to get the side quest started, as you need to start the one where you go looking for the 2 little girls to get into the dungeon. Once you've done that though, you'll follow them into the finest place imaginable for grinding, Florum Gardens. You're going to want to go into the second or third rooms and just run around because you're looking for these little fellas. These are Alarunes, and they give a lot more EXP and JP than anything else in the game. And the best part? They can spawn in groups of up to 6 at a time. Very, very effective farm. Once you hit Chapter 4, there's a better equivalent of these guys in the Eternian Mountain range, so you'll want to farm them there, and then Chapter 5 onwards, you're going to head back to Florum Gardens for the best version of that enemy. But yes, Florum Gardens is overall the best spot for leveling in the game. These next few tips are more about developing a general combat mindset for this game. First up, negative BP braving. So as you might already know, you can brave to take multiple actions on a turn, something special to the Bravely series, and you can even go into the negatives of BP in order to do it. However, if the battle isn't over by the next turn, that character will have to wait for enough turns to pass to pay back their BP debt. Now for new players, you may be cautious and only choose to brave after you've defaulted a bunch and have BP to burn. But instead, I'm going to encourage you to go into those negatives, in the proper context. If you want to grind levels, the best way to do so, again, is getting those First Turn Victor and Unscathed bonuses. To do that, you're going to need to go all out from the very first turn. If you can't get the first turn kill in a new zone yet, don't worry, just slow play it until you can. This will speed up your farming substantially, and remember, BP does not carry over between battles, so going into the negatives will not impact your next battle. And in boss fights, try to pay attention to how much damage you're doing to see if you can burst a boss out. Let's say your DPS is doing roughly 1,000 damage per action to a boss. If you inspect that boss and notice they only have 4,000 or less HP left, as long as that DPS is safe, you should go all out, brave into the negatives, and just knock the boss over. It's just basic math. Do that and you'll be fine. Another small tip, if a boss knocks themselves into negative BP range, don't go all out right away. If you have a DPS with like 2 BP and the boss isn't within 4 attacks range of death, you should brave twice for 3 actions, do damage, and then next turn you can go all out again for another 4 actions. It's the difference between getting 7 actions by playing carefully or only getting 4 actions and putting yourself on a waiting list. So keep that stuff in mind while playing. Tip number 7 is a pretty short one, but probably something most newcomers would never even think of. I know for sure a lot of people forget this is a thing, but during your turn, if you go into your items menu and go to the very top, you'll see the equipment in your right and left hands. You can select those weapons or shields and swap them out with any other equipment in the middle of a fight. This doesn't even cost you an action. You can just do it before choosing something to do for the turn. So if you took a lightning-infused katana into battle against an enemy that gobbles up electricity for breakfast, just pop into the menu and swap to a new katana. And for my last combat mindset tip, make sure to chain your specials. Even though you may be using them now to bypass the 9,999 damage cap, special moves in the Bravely series have always had a very unique trait to them. Along with the active damage or recovery you'll be giving your team, the special move also gives you some stat buffs. These buffs don't last X number of turns, but rather only stick around until that character's special theme ends. Pretty cool, right? Here's the extra cool news. If you use one character's special while another one's theme is still playing, that new special theme will start. And in addition to the new stat buffs, you'll carry over the ones from the first song, until this new song ends. And you can keep doing this, probably only up to 3 carryovers, since I doubt you'll charge a new special in that time, but that's potentially 6 minutes straight of carrying special buffs around. Highly recommend trying this out, it'll really keep you strong for a while. Just pray the boss doesn't start yapping mid-fight, since that'll cut into your time. Tip number 9 is pretty straightforward, but I figured it's worth mentioning. Be careful with how you spend your peak. You may feel tempted to buy absolutely everything you can when you reach a new town, but in reality, you're going to burn a hole through your coin purse in an instant if you do that. Instead, you need to prioritize. Generally, my recommendations are as follows. First, buy any new magic you intend on using. Spells are not learned from job levels, you are simply given access to use them at said job levels. But to actually earn the spell, you have to buy it from the magic shop in each town. And even then, amongst magic, only buy spells you actually plan on using. New level of cure? Absolutely, pick that up. But are you really going to be using sleep in a game that already has a hard time inflicting status ailments? Probably not. Maybe pick that up later. Next, replenish your consumable stores with Phoenix Downs, Ethers, any status removal items, all that good stuff. And then, once you're done all of that, then go to the equipment vendor and buy a few upgrades. If your primary DPS is a black mage, maybe consider getting the newest rod there. But don't go upgrading every character right away. Remember, you still have dungeons to loot, and a lot of the time you might run into the same equipment you just bought, or something even better. And don't forget about leveling up Narende to get access to the weapons and gear there too. And for my final tip, one last combat advisory. If you get hit with an attack, almost any attack in this game, unless it is explicitly stated as being magic, or it has the name of a spell you can also learn, it's physical. 90% of the shit this game will throw at you, it's going to be physical. Even if it doesn't look like it. A Dragon's Breath attack? Physical. The first Crystal Boss's elemental attacks? Elemental, yes, but also physical. This is why jobs like Knight and Ninja excel throughout most of the game, because they can deal with most of the attacks you'll come across with ease. So if you're putting up shell and still taking tons of damage, it's probably physical. Yes, I also think it's very silly, but that's how it be. Oh, and one more little bonus tip. If an attack causes an effect on your characters that looks like the blue default circle being shattered, that means it ignores default. Alright, those are my top pieces of advice for new Bravely players. These are just the ones that came to mind for me, but if any of you have some spoiler-free tips for new people, drop them down in the comments below. And if you have any other questions that weren't answered by this video, or if this video helped you out in any way, also let me know. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.